Happy Saturday, friends. Matt with Eddie's Guitars coming to you, as always, from St. Louis, Missouri. And we sure appreciate you joining us here on another lovely Saturday. We are going to bang through a few recent arrivals that we've gotten in the shop over the course of the last couple of weeks today. And honestly, the selection that we've got, you might notice behind me, is a little bit smaller than usual. A few of the recent arrival acoustic guitars that I had planned to feature in today's live stream didn't even stick around in the shop long enough before they sold for me to for us to do that. So you'll have to bear with what we've got today. But we do have some absolute beauties, even though it's a little bit smaller selection than usual. And like I said, we do appreciate you joining us. If you have any questions or would like to share what you are up to this weekend in your musical explorations, we would sure love to hear all about it. But we're gonna kick things off here with this beautiful Lowden. This is a little S50, and the 50 series from Lowden kind of represents the most flagship or the kind of highest end, if you will, within the Lowden lineup. And this is a combination of woods and specs that honestly we have never had in the shop before. So this is kind of a brand new guitar to me as well. As I said, this is an S50 here. The top that we have on this guitar is a master grade Western red cedar top. Let's take a gander at that there, Jandro. If we can do that. We've got kind of bright lights there. I'm going to rely on you, Jandro, to tell me if that's blown out looking or not.
So, no, it's looking good.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful Western red cedar top there. The back and sides of this guitar are a really, really beautiful set of Madagascar Rosewood. Just dramatic stuff there. I love the inky lines that you tend to see in Madagascar Rosewood. This guitar is bound all the way around in maple binding. And one of the specifications that we kind of altered a little bit, away from the standard anyway, is the string spacing, or rather the nut width and the string spacing down here at the bridge. This has what Lowden refers to as their 45/60 neck setup or string spacing setup. And basically what that means is the nut width down here is 45 millimeters wide and the string spacing down at the bridge is 65 millimeters wide. So it's a little bit wider spacings than the standard Lowden setup. And I think especially for fingerstyle playing, it's just incredibly comfortable. In fact, this last sort of batch or round of guitars that we ordered from Lowden, almost all of them I did with the 45/60 setup, and I'm trying to figure out why I didn't do that earlier, because just the feel of this, a little bit of extra width in there is just really wonderful feeling. Still has the standard C profile neck, nothing crazy in terms of a different neck profile at all. So the feel there is the same, but just having a little bit of extra real estate in there on the fingerboard is a very welcome feel, I think. And you can hear how crisp and how articulate. I think a lot of that is coming from that Western red cedar top. And also just the fact that it's a relatively small body guitar. It's going to have a lot of clarity to it, and not be muddy at all. This thing's absolutely not muddy at all. Real airy sound, very nice. Beautiful sound, wow. to a strong start today, folks. This is a man, a beautiful guitar. Let's take a look at this headstock real quick while we're here, Jandro. That really sharp Lowden headstock, very unique shape to it as well. Kind of know that's a Lowden from a ways off. I think of course the Godot 510 tuning machines done in gold with the ebony buttons. Very, very classy situation there. I really like this one. Very comfortable.
Got a question from chat.
Indeed.
Do you think a pinless bridge makes a difference on the sound?
Yeah, boy, you know, I feel like it has to, but honestly, I've never had the opportunity to play two like guitars, one with a pinless bridge and one with bridge pins in it. So how it would change the sound, I think it would change the sound, but how it would change the sound, honestly, I'm not sure, because, you know, a Lowden compared to almost anything else, a Lowden is kind of a different thing than a Martin or a Bourgeois or a Santa Cruz. All those guitars have bridge pins, so you can't just isolate the bridge style and say, oh, the Lowden's doing this because of the lack of bridge pins. We need to find a builder who's willing to build us both kinds in two similar guitars. That would be a super interesting experiment. Who asked that, just out of curiosity?
That was Renee Peterson from YouTube.
That's a really good question. But without having two like virtually identical guitars with just that bridge difference, it's tough to, again, nail down, oh, it's got more bass, or it rings longer, or it's more, you know, responsive to a certain type of playing. That's a good question, though. One of those questions, I'm sure, that has even, you know, builders and luthiers questioning all the time, you know, how might this design work within the, you know, the structure of a particular build style. Like Dana Bourgeois, for example, I can't imagine a Bourgeois guitar with a pinless bridge, not because it's wrong, just because of the style, you know, is not something you would typically see on a guitar like that, but would be interesting for sure. Moving on down the line, folks, I just picked up a wonderful, wonderful Bourgeois 000 Soloist model, and this is a pretty highly customized situation here. I worked real closely with James Cook at Bourgeois Guitars to have this guitar put together. It's got a few specific things about it that I really, really love, and we actually kind of took a little bit of a deep dive to secure these actual pieces of wood that were, you know, ultimately used in this guitar. So you'll notice I did not say an OMC Soloist. Normally the Soloist models from Bourgeois are OM cutaways, and while this very much so looks like an OM cutaway, it is in fact a short scale guitar. It's not a 25.5-inch scale, it is rather a 25-inch scale on this guitar, that making it a 000 Soloist model. 000 C for the cutaway, Soloist model, technically speaking. What we did here, in fact, we'll take a look at this top right now. We have a beautiful and extra clean Redwood top here that we started things off with. And this is a beautiful, very complex looking Redwood top on this guitar. See that real colorful abalone rosette going around the sound hole. You can see that pyramid bridge that is very much so signature to the Soloist models from Bourgeois. And I'm going to try to get real close if we can and show you that purfling. Just a small detail, but I got to tell you, that clean purfling that they do on the Soloist model is one of my favorite that Bourgeois offers. That's just a really particularly handsome look. The back and sides of this guitar, like I said, we were extra picky with, and it's going to pretend that it's a mirror here, but a very dark, very straight set of Madagascar Rosewood on this guitar. Really, really fine stuff. And the folks at Bourgeois, when they were kind of selecting these woods and helping us pick these, mentioned that this set was just particularly resonant, in raw, form. They were just able to kind of tap on it and hear how resonant it is. And I thought that would be well used in a short scale context of a guitar, because personally, I want a little bit of extra resonance out of a short scale guitar. That diminished string length tends to pull away a little bit of sustain usually when you shorten that string length. So making up for that elsewhere, maybe in the woods or the build style of the guitar, to me is a cool thing to be able to do. And I think that's exactly what's been achieved here in this guitar. This guitar also has the full age tone package, so it's going to have all of the fully torrefied Adirondack spruce braces. It has all animal protein construction, animal protein glue construction throughout the internals of the guitar, and the finish, the actual finish itself on the body of the guitar is the proprietary Bourgeois age tone finish as well. So, in terms of again, just trying to maximize all the potential for resonance and vibration out of these guitars, is all the boxes have been checked. Nothing has been left unchecked on this one at all. Beautiful mid-range in there, man. Great sound. Real clear sound, but man, it's got a warmth still around the notes, but not at all at the expense of the clarity. That's a fine thing there. And I have to say, I don't know whether I love to admit this or not, but the half-inch shorter scale length on this guitar sure makes it easy to play. I mean, some of those, some of those nice reaches. One thing that I've noticed can be a little bit shy in Redwood and Rosewood guitars is, in fact, the mid-range. This guitar has no lack of mid-range at all. It's got a great balance of mids. Really turned out nice. Take a look at this headstock while we're here real quick, Jandro. We extended the binding, the body binding, I should say, of this guitar around the headstock and the fingerboard of this guitar. So the entire guitar is bound in Ziricote binding. You can see a beautiful matching, I mean perfectly matching Madagascar Rosewood headstock veneer there. If I could keep this thing centered, you would see it. Then we've got the Waverly tuning machines done in gold with the ebony buttons as well. So it's just a very, very clean and frankly kind of sexy guitar. The color, the shape, the curves and everything. She's lively. I think that this will age very, very gracefully as it starts to open up and sweeten up a little bit more. This thing's got a tremendous head start to it. Very nice.
Got a question from Roeth on YouTube.
Sure.
Was curious about your opinion on Oxnard-built guilds, specifically their M size, M20, and M40.
Oh boy, man, I'm afraid I don't have a ton of experience. I hate to admit that I don't have an overabundance of experience with guild guitars. New or old. We do carry the new guild guitars. But I haven't played a lot of the old ones outside of like the real classic like 12 strings and stuff that we've had through here. We haven't had, and I'm sorry, tell me the models. Did he mention like the M20?
Yeah, the M20 and the M40.
Yeah. I just haven't had any of those through here. Of that era, I'm afraid. So,
and Jim Barely asked, or he says that he has a Fairbanks F20 that's on order that is Redwood and mahogany, and he's wondering if he should change it to Redwood Rosewood.
Jim, that's a good question. Boy, no, I don't think so. Man. Can you get one of each?
Yeah, they're both great options, yeah.
The question to me would be, if you were going to switch to Rosewood, which Rosewood would you switch to? And just my personal 2 cents, this is not right nor wrong, might be wrong. I know it's not necessarily exclusively right. It would depend a lot on what Rosewood you were going to switch to. Naturally, the most economical version would be East Indian Rosewood, in which case, personally, I would stick with mahogany and Redwood on the guitar that you're having built. But if one could swing for, say, Madagascar Rosewood or something, that would be a different conversation from my perspective, at least. But from a price point standpoint, the mahogany is going to be very tough to beat. And regardless of its price, Redwood and mahogany is just a great combination. And I think it would be a real nice combination with Dale there. So, absolutely.
And last one for now from Sergeant Pepper on YouTube. Said, this is a sad theme, Matt, but do you expect an explosion of the guitar prices because of the war in Europe?
We've been kind of sort of talking about that a little bit. I don't know. I just don't know. We've been experiencing having nothing to do with anything over in Europe, just the COVID situation, some prices coming up. We've been hearing from a number of different builders, just the cost of materials especially has really gone up in the last couple of years, and you can only absorb that for so long before you got to say, okay, I'm sorry, but we've just got to charge more for these things that we're putting so much time and effort into. As far as the stuff over in Europe, without going too deep, I would say it's possible. I'm trying to think of what we might commonly get from that neck of the woods in the guitar, building world, but
nothing really comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't know. Good question, though. That's a deep question. Indeed. All for now?
Yep.
Thank you folks very much. We appreciate you tuning in and contributing to the conversation an awful lot. In case you haven't already, I would just like to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel here, or give us a like on Facebook if you're joining us through Facebook. You tune this one for me, Jandro?
Tuning is one thing that I didn't ever actually learn about the guitar. I have someone else tune it for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, usually you tune it for me instead of the other way around.
That way people just think you're like really important and too good to tune your own guitar.
Exactly.
Folks, before I get carried away with the voice of this guitar, and I can already tell I'm going to, I want to tell you what it is. This is the Lowden F50. Another very much so, this is perhaps the flagship guitar from Lowden. And I say that because George Lowden himself has pretty openly declared his love for not only this tone wood combination, but this tone wood combination in the F50 configuration specifically. This is kind of George Lowden's personal, favorite combo that he builds. So what we have here is the F50 body, 14 fret guitar, of course. We have a sinker redwood top. Let's take a gander here. This is a crazy nice sinker redwood top on this example here. And being a 50 series guitar, again, we are dealing with all master grade tone woods on these 50 series guitars, so there's no worry whatsoever that you're getting anything less than utterly spectacular. Tone and the appearance, I think, certainly confirms. We had the body of this guitar bound in koa, so you can see that nice golden curly koa binding. And glorious African Blackwood back and sides on this guitar. Really, really nice straight African Blackwood. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to spread around any false facts here, but I believe this actually came from our good friends here in St. Louis at Hibden Hardwoods. The last time I was there, let me get this dust off of here. Sorry about that. Oh, wrong side. Trying to do things in a mirror. Last time I was over at Hibden Hardwoods, they had a pile of African Blackwood, and they said, "Oh, that's going to George and the boys over in Ireland." I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So I know that they get some of it sourced right here through St. Louis, as cool as that is. And I don't think it's any accident or fluke that this is George's favorite combination of things that they kind of make. I mean, the sound, the character, the responsiveness, the sustain of this guitar is just awesome. And the kind of almost hollow, percussive bottom end that the guitar has is very satisfying to have within reach when you need it. It's pretty cool. Definitely has that kind of caverny kind of sound, real kind of wet sound. that body shape in these tone woods, man, does that ever provide a long canvas of sustain? It's really neat. That is a sound right there, folks. Holy cow. I hope that any part of what I'm experiencing here is being translated through these microphones.
Oh yeah, they can hear it. Say it sounds like a piano.
Does it ever?
Overtones and harmonics. We got two questions for you.
Sure.
One, do you know the gauge of strings that are on that guitar?
These are the Lowden strings. I hate to admit that I don't know the exact model of Lowden strings that are on here.
Yeah, it wasn't on the listing, so I wasn't able to find out.
They do not feel like, medium gauge strings. They feel more supple than that. So I would guess that this is at least on the treble end of the strings, probably a 12. The low end might be a little thicker than a 54, maybe. If so, not by much, though.
And secondly, so that's the sort of top-loading bridge, right?
Yes, pinless. Yep.
Pinless. Do you think that, what sort of effect does that have on not having to drill the holes through the soundboard?
That's a little of what we touched on the first guitar, comparing a pinless bridge with one with bridge pins. Can't think of the word. Excuse me. Again, I don't know. Without having heard both examples in a similar context, it's hard to know what, drilling the holes in the top or not is doing. One thing that I've noticed, though, that is not maybe a total, game changer necessarily, but it seems like the break angle of the string itself, once it crosses over the saddle, is perhaps not quite as great of a break angle on this guitar as one with bridge pins, if that came out of my mouth correctly at all. So this is perhaps a little bit more of a relaxed feel because those ball ends are not physically going into the guitar the way, again, a Martin or a Bourgeois or a Santa Cruz is going to have. So these ball ends of these strings are elevated, over the top of the guitar inside the bridge itself. So there's less inside the guitar. How that ultimately changes things or what we should be listening for as a result of that is as much of as good of a guess. You know what I'm saying.
Get it.
Your guess is as good as mine. There it is. But I do find it interesting, like how did George Lowden land on, hey, I'm going to make a guitar that doesn't have bridge pins? He's certainly not the only one out there doing it. But, rightly so. I'm glad people have these questions because it's like, clearly there's a difference there. What made you choose that? We got to have some builders on here and interview them and ask them these questions.
We definitely should get something. We could do like, we could do sort of like a live stream call-in type of situation where they could
that would be very
remote,
interesting.
I don't know what sort of lag or delay there would be, but this is the program we're using does that, so we should definitely do that.
Would be very
get
interesting.
Dana in here, or
absolutely.
Yeah.
Get Jeff Jewett on the phone. We got a million people we could call, I'm sure.
Right.
That would be hopefully willing to join us on here at least.
Mm-hmm.
Play Guitar Shop a little bit. That is a keeper right there. I do declare, and just for reference, this is another Lowden mentioned earlier about the S50 that we were taking a look at, that we did the wider 45-60 neck string spacing combination. This guitar also has that wider combination of specs there. So if you're a fingerstyle player, this is definitely going to be very comfortable for you.
Mike Christie on YouTube was curious on your thoughts on Lowden as a builder against other luthiers that we frequently have, or maybe like what's what do you expect when you pick up a Lowden, or what do you're like, oh, I want to play a Lowden today?
Sure, sure. That's a very good question, and I can speak from our perspective here. Lowden is one of the few European builders that Eddie's Guitars represents, and again, I know that there's many others out there, building guitars. Lowden just happens to be kind of the primary one that we carry here. They definitely have their own sound, as does the European guitar versus the North American guitar sound, or the Western guitar sound. Usually the Lowden is going to have a little bit more of a compressed sound to it. I think that F50 that we just played is a good example of a unique Lowden, because that's again, you can hear just lots of overtones coming out of it, lots of sustain and everything. Lowdens do tend to have good sustain pretty consistently, but a lot of the guitars I've played from them are drier sounding than that African Blackwood guitar we just played. And so it's while you have that cavernous kind of thing, it usually doesn't have quite that reverby type of a sound, quite as much of the harmonics that kind of poke through. Whereas, again, your D28 or your, OM18 or whatever, your American guitar is going to have more of that overtone kind of thing happening usually, and less of the compression thing happening. So it's a different feel. Honestly, it kind of, when I pick up a Lowden, I can sense myself approaching it differently than I would a Ryan guitar or a Bourgeois guitar. It's a different sound, so it kind of inspires you, even if it's partially subconsciously, it kind of inspires you to play a little differently, which to me is great, because everything I play is virtually exactly the same, just in a different order of chords. So if I can get a little bit of a different inspiration out of it, that's a great thing. I really, really like the Lowden guitars myself, and again, especially the kind of harmonic sounding ones. Really like both of the ones that we have on the wall today. I think are great examples of that. So, good question. This is a perfect example of your very American-made sounding guitar. This is a Collings DS1A. This is their 12-fret dreadnought, so a big boy here. And the A designation on the end will imply the presence of an Adirondack spruce top on this guitar. So in terms of lots of horsepower, lots of volume, lots of projection, this is going to be kind of best case scenario out of a guitar like this. The fact that it's this sort of elongated body with this bridge sitting where it's sitting in relation to the top of the guitar, it gives you a big, full, defined bottom end, and again, just a rhythmic presence to it that you can't deny. It's pretty fun to play. Boy, oh boy. Adirondack and mahogany, friends. It is a thing. Was this overdriving the mic?
I was watching it. It was getting close.
I saw you reaching.
Yeah. Yeah, someone said it So like the speaker went from being a 6-inch speaker or 8 to like a 12-inch speaker with some bass. We got a couple for you. David Vandermillen on YouTube was always curious who the photos are on the wall behind you.
Oh, that's a great question, David. Let's see here. This lady right above me here, yes, right above me. That's my mom there. This woman here up in the corner, top left, is Ed's. Ed that owns the shop, obviously. Ed's mother-in-law. And this fine lady with the sunglasses on here is Ed's mother. So we've got not all of our moms down here, but a couple of our moms anyway. We'll get the rest of the ladies down here.
James Bertels brought up a good idea, similar to what we already do, but a little bit more specific. Like for an idea for a stream where we take like what your pinnacle of each luthier's guitar would be, and just one from each luthier, and we kind of just have a shootout. Not really shootout, but you know.
Yeah.
Like comparison.
That's James. That's a really great idea. The only man, especially right now, the only problem with that is actually getting all the guitars in here at one time to do it at one time. James and I have been talking a lot about the Waterloo guitars. And he thinks that he's super interested in one, but there's none around for him to play to even confirm one way or another. So yeah, just a matter of sometimes getting the individual pieces in here all at the same time, or any pieces in here for that matter. Yeah, it can be a great idea, and I hope that inventory at some point gets to the point to where we can do something like that. But that's a very good idea.
Mark Henry on YouTube was curious, how would you compare this to a Santa Cruz D12?
Santa Cruz D12. Okay, that's a very, very good question. I think the build style has a lot to do with this. The Collings tends to be a little bit more articulate sounding guitar, so it's going to have a little bit more presence of top end, a little bit more clarity in the bottom end. However, I think that there is a more of a mature quality that's present in the Santa Cruz, a little bit more of a woody, a little bit more mid-range forward sound, not quite as bright, not quite as articulate, a little bit rounder in the trebles, a little bit rounder in the bass response as well. And again, not getting into the territory of muddy, I wouldn't say, just not quite as, crispy as something like this. Just a little mellower, rounder sound out of the. And when I say mellow, I don't mean quieter, because I've played some pretty darn loud Santa Cruz D12s through here, for sure. Another wonderful interpretation of a 12 fret, kind of D18 sort of thing, Adirondack and mahogany. These are both, this and the Santa Cruz are both great interpretations, just little different flavor in each.
Oh, real quick, what pick are you playing with today?
Today I've got the blue chip. I have to admit, I don't know if anybody saw about the Apollo pick that I picked up a few weeks ago. Did somebody ask that, or were you wondering?
No, they asked, and then someone said they think it's the Apollo, but
this is the blue chip. The Apollo pick, man, I'll tell you, I do like it, but I noticed after I think I carried that Apollo pick for about a week, and then picked up my blue chip again and started playing, and I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have picked the blue chip back up, because it felt so at home. And then I picked up the Apollo pick again, and it felt a little less like home to me. But I didn't realize, I guess, maybe how laser honed I am on just the. And I'm not even a good flat picker. I don't know why it's even a big deal, but no, just the feel of this just feels like, an old pair of jeans or whatever kind of thing.
I mean, once you pick your pick, it's hard to ever, in my opinion, to just stop. Like,
well, and what's funny is when it's just, it's amazing how the human brain works, but and how it adapts. But when I bought this pick, it was not to replace, but to basically replace a tortoiseshell pick, or a natural tortoiseshell pick that I had. that I thought was my favorite pick, and I guess still is, but now it's like this at the time was a compromise in the size and in the, so I thought, a compromise, but turns out that it's kind of, become my go-to for sure, but. Awesome drive in there. How's that go? Some good stuff there from our friends at Collings. Again, the DS1A. Great guitar. Slot head, 12 fret dread. And folks, just like that, we have reached the end of the line here. And per our usual, if any of these guitars are specifically speaking to any of you, I'd sure love to hear about which guitar is speaking to whom. Folks, the last guitar on the wall today is an absolutely mesmerizing Bourgeois OM Signature Deluxe with, I gotta tell you, some of my favorite woods. I will not be afraid to admit that at all. This is a 14 fret standard scale length OM. Just for reference, we did play a short scale triple O Soloist model earlier. Top that we've got on this guitar is a seriously beautiful, let's take a gander there, age tone Swiss moon spruce top. And you can see that the when I say age tone, of course, that implies the torrefaction process in the wood. You can see that this is not the darkest or most cooked looking piece of spruce out there. It's relatively light in its torrefied golden aspect, but beautiful indeed. I think that'll allow, you know, natural UV light and everything to kind of take over and continue the suntan, I guess you could call it, on this guitar. You can see the body is bound in that beautiful, super curly koa. You can see that beautiful wood herringbone as well there, going all the way around the top. Of course, in the the Signature Deluxe styling, got the koa binding around the headstock and the neck as well. You see a magnificent Madagascar Rosewood headstock veneer. I'm sorry, not Madagascar Rosewood. Came out of my mouth automatically. Guatemalan Rosewood, which of course would imply some fancy wood on the back of this guitar, which this will not disappoint at all. Gorgeous, gorgeous quarter sawn straight grain Guatemalan Rosewood. Look at that color. Amazing color to this wood. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Really nice back strip as well, the DB herringbone back strip. That is some awesome, awesome rosewood though. And again, the sound of the guitar, you can hear it. Boy, oh boy. I feel like these two Bourgeois that we've played today have had a particularly sweet level of mid-range. There's just an attitude in the sound of both of these guitars that it's like it might punch you in the throat if you look at it wrong. Yikes. Jandro, I cannot afford any more guitars. This is becoming a problem.
Sell your motorcycle, right?
Dude.
I'll buy it.
I was just looking to borrow some money. I mean, I'm not looking for solutions. This does have the standard kind of ergonomics package, the standard 1 3/4 nut standard 2 and 5/16 spacing down here at the ebony belly bridge on this guitar, and boy, oh boy, I think I could play this about all day long and not be too sad about it at all.
Hey, real quick, DM on YouTube was asking your thoughts on small or jumbo Lowdens for dadgad tuning, fingerstyle, mahogany or rosewood to pair with the cedar top.
Personally, I would like the rosewood with cedar in that particular context for doing the dadgad, open tuning kind of thing. I think again, I am one that likes the little bit more harmonically complex sound out of the Lowden guitar, though. So I'm coming from that standpoint of preference. So bear that in mind. I think a lot of the folk, maybe not a lot, but I know of folks out there who seek Lowden out specifically to get the little bit drier sounding guitars. They do record super, super well on both ends of the drier and the wetter sounds, though. So for me, I would probably pick rosewood, though, in that context.
You're not gonna like this one, but a few people want to know where's the album at.
What album? We got to get with Mike.
Okay, guys. I've been telling him my bandmate in Scuzz is a producer and an engineer at the studio just down the street, and I was like, come on, man, let's go. We'll just set up a couple of stereo mics and just let you play the same way we're doing here, and then I'll just put some high gain distorted Les Paul sounds over it. Yeah,
that's all we need. Yeah, the more overdrive, the better.
Yeah.
Whoever's asking that, I appreciate the inquiry first and foremost. The answer to that question is, Jandro's got to invite me over to the studio so I can do that. So it's really actually on Jandro at this point.
Okay, that's me.
We're going to try to do it this year still. Is that a vague enough answer?
Sure. Yeah.
Does Mike have time in his schedule this year?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk to him.
Okay.
Let's get it done. It'll be fun. Do you have any insider info on the Bourgeois Touchstone OM release date?
Yes and no. Yes, I have insider information on it, but I can't share it.
Ooh, secret.
Yeah. I've been deemed worthy of knowing a little bit of insider information. That sounded terribly sarcastic. I didn't mean it to at all. The folks at Bourgeois were kind enough to turn me on to some insider information about the Touchstone instruments. They're coming, folks. I have not gotten my hands on any of the prototypes or anything, but there are prototypes out there. If you didn't know that already, they do exist. I am really anxiously awaiting the actual finished available for sale Touchstone guitars, though, because for a lot of reasons, but yeah, well, I'm anxious too, but I can't. It's not too far off. I'm just going to say that it's not too far off, but it's not today either. So. Folks, we're nearing the end here. So if anyone is compelled to let us know what is speaking to them today off the wall, we would sure love to hear about it.
Yeah, let's get a vote going. They were asking about the Santa Cruz or either of the Santa Cruzes that you have behind you.
Okay, so if anybody is curious, you may have noticed I skipped a couple of guitars on the wall today. If you're curious about the two Santa Cruz guitars, you'll notice there's an OM45 right here and a D45 down low down here, if you can see that. You just made it worse, huh?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. We actually featured, I think, both of those, didn't we? Was that a couple of 3 weeks ago? Three weeks ago? In
I
that
can't
ballpark?
keep track of all the guitars we demo.
Those have both actually been done, and admittedly, as I said, several of the guitars that I had planned to feature in today's stream sold before today, so we had to ship them to the folks that bought them, of course, which is the whole point. But if you're curious about those have been in a live stream. I think it was the one 3 weeks ago. But
Okay.
if you're really curious, check and do a little digging there, because they're out there. Both of those guitars sound completely filthy. They're unbelievable. And I think the OM in particular, they're both reasonably priced considering what they are. The OM is really reasonably priced considering what it is, because it's got a couple small imperfections on the back of the guitar that are going to make it, I think, pretty accessible to the right person, right player. So I will envy whoever that player ends up being big time.
Remind me what the couple that sold that you were gonna feature were.
The main one, there honestly were like four. The main one that I really wanted to talk about was a signature series Kevin Ryan guitar. It was a Nightingale that was built with, if you can believe it, Tunnel 13 Redwood and the tree mahogany, and it lasted in the shop here for about 16 hours before it was purchased. I have actually heard from the gentleman who purchased that guitar, and it will not be back at the shop. He's keeping it. So
That was the one with all the turquoise
yeah,
inlays,
it
right?
had the Pueblo Rose arts and crafts fingerboard inlay. So it had all the black Tahitian pearl and the video we shot last week, like the 15-second little clip that we shot saying that we would not be going live
Right,
last weekend.
that was the one.
I was holding that guitar, and then it literally sold like 15 minutes after we shot that little clip. If you want to tease yourself on what it looks like, again, check out one of our earlier videos. But that thing was absolutely nuts. I'll have to ask the guys at Ryan if they have any more of that Tunnel 13 Redwood, because if they do, we will be making some more guitars with it, because that stuff is pretty much gone as far as I can tell out there in the wild. Any favorites there, Hondi?
Honestly, for me, it's that one. If
I think for me it might be this one too.
If I'm playing fingerstyle, definitely that one. If I'm feeling a little bit rowdy and I want to strum pretty hard, that Collings.
Yeah.
That, just the bass and the projection on that just bother everyone in the house. I mean, not me, but anyone that has to listen to me play. Yeah.
The ones that really grabbed me were definitely this one. And man, I got to tell you, that Lowden, the F50, the bigger boy, the second one we played, that sucker, I can't even imagine where that thing's going to go tonally, you know, in even
really
a year.
Cool sound,
you know? Really good sound. That's just my 2 cents. Folks, if that's it, I think that might be it. We again really appreciate you joining us here. We've had a lot of fun playing through a few guitars today, and we will see what comes in over the course of the next week or couple of weeks, and I'm sure come back to you live again soon. And of course, we will give you a heads up before we do that. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel here or given us a like on Facebook, please be sure to do so. And if you're joining us on YouTube, there's a little bell next to the subscribe button there. If you press that, you will get basically, I think, instant notifications whenever we come live or put a new video on our YouTube page. So be sure to do that if you do, in fact, want to get the notifications when we do stuff just like this. So thank you again. Any parting words there, Jandro?
I got nothing.
Well,
Practice. If you're not practicing, then you should be practicing, right?
I never lived by that mantra.
I just made it
Clearly.
up, so you could start living by it now. But we'll check back
That
with you
seems like
next
too
week.
much work. Folks, thanks again. We appreciate you being here. Have an absolutely lovely weekend. We will catch you on the flip side. Take
You guys.
care.